Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video here at Tablemon. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sure you've heard the news, but I will be casting the Latin American International Championships this upcoming weekend in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I'm very excited, and I couldn't reveal anything until Pokemon officially revealed it, of course. Cat's out of the bag, and I'm very excited. Yeah, it's my first time streaming, and hopefully I'll be able to bring a lot of useful knowledge to the casting team. Yeah. And having said that, it is a pretty interesting or unique position to be in, given how, of course, I'm competing for a World's Invite. I'm like very hyper competitive, and I was preparing for the event until I got asked to cast, and I have still been preparing because I will be attending Toronto and Dallas and San Diego and Orlando. So no slacking for Tablemon. And that leads me to the current tier list that I'm showing. Yeah, we all know that Silver Tempest brought Lugia, and that really shook around the top decks. It really narrowed down. We used to have like Palkia and Giratina and Mew and Kyurem and Regigigas arguably as tier 1 decks, but now it's a lot more narrow in Lugia and Mew decks. Those are the top tier decks. I feel like Lugia is the best deck to try and compete against Lugia just because of the 1-kill potential, the sort of disruption, the Meloetta potential as well with the tablets and whatnot. And in tier 2 now, it's really wide open. We have Kyurem, which can compete with both, but it does, I feel like a lot of the tier 2 decks rely on going first against Lugia or Mew to have a chance, so that's why they are tier 2. Kyurem, Regigigas can hit Lugia for weakness, but Lugia can play and has been playing Dunsparce and Manaphy to protect their own bench and protect Lugia as well from getting one shot. And then if they also have like a copy of Sharon Scare or something, then all of a sudden your trades are not very effective at all. Not to mention the inconsistency issues with setting up in the beginning in and of itself, which Lugia doesn't really suffer from. Next up, we have Duraludon VMAX, a natural counter to Lugia playing only special energies. But of course, Lugia can anticipate that, and through the use of Yveltal and also Path Peak on its own, it can bypass Duraludon VMAX's ability. So it's not a perfect counter. It is team play, it is useful, and it's a bulky enough deck to where it's pretty good, thanks to Hyper Push and healing, but it definitely struggles against things like Kyurem, right? Or against Quad Path Regigigas. Or some of the tier 3 decks like Regidrago and some Arceus variants, or even some Dialga decks. Now, next up, we have Regieleki, which Regieleki VMAX Vikavolt, which the item lock can sometimes ruin someone's day and just lock players out of the game by them having a clunked out hand with item cards and whatnot. It also features lightning Pokemon, which of course are great against Lugia, but it definitely has a limitation in the damage output. That is how item locking is balanced in this game, by lowering the damage output, which Regieleki VMAX does fix to an extent. But I also think that a lot of decks can very easily just play Galarian Zapdos, and there's no way to avoid playing into its ability and leaving very easy knockouts on the board for your opponent to take, and it's not even easy to respond to a Zapdos V for a return KO. So that's a big issue for Vikavolt. And then we have Giratina VSTAR decks. They are still pretty good, but the issue is that the Cramorant pressure early isn't really good against Lugia. It's not good enough to trade against them. The Archeopses are actually very bulky. You're only KOing things like Raikou or the amazing rare Yveltal, but that's really not good enough. And trading against Giratina is actually fairly easy. They don't need a lot of cards in Lost Zone and in Mirage Gate and whatnot. And with the extra Serenas and Bosses orders that they can afford to play as opposed to Giratina, then that becomes a really tough matchup. Not impossible, but definitely not easy. And then we have the Mirage Gate Lost Box decks, which have been all the rage lately with amazing rare Rayquaza featuring out of all the Pokemon, which I do like, given how there's damage prevention through Goodra sometimes, there's high HP Pokemon such as Kyurem and Duraludon VMAX, and of course with 5 energies on a Rayquaza, which is easily achievable with right hand and Mirage Gates and attachments for turn, you can 1KO basically everything, and you can adapt the deck since you're already playing so many basic energies to be able to deal with anything and everything in the metagame. So I do like those sort of decks. I do find them very interesting, and I like how you can make all sorts of different plays and potentially outplay opponents that way. We've also seen the Kyogre from Celebration see a lot of play and see a great degree of success in those sort of decks. So I would not be surprised to see those show up at LAIC. And then in tier 3, we have the good enough decks to where they're fun and they're powerful, but they're just, they really struggle with tier 1, and they also sort of are outpaced by tier 2. Palkia is a deck that has really fallen from grace, and it suffers from anything that's lightning being teched to try and deal with Lugia, just gets immediately countered. Palkia gets immediately countered by it as well, and there's no Dunsparce equivalent to remove Palkia's weaknesses, so that's just really unfortunate for Palkia. Its reign was cut a little short, but it's still a solid deck. It's just not as good as Lugia, and it suffers from the Lugia counters as well. Next up we have Dialga, which has always tried to stay relevant, but the combo is a little questionable or gimmicky, and you can definitely sneak wins here and there, but it's not good enough or consistent enough to where it hasn't top 8'd a single regional and barely gets day 2 showings when it does do well. Then we have Regidrago VSTAR, whether it's with Arceus or with solo. It does feel like it's good, but it's not good enough. Not even for tier 2, although it feels like it's almost there. Like out of the 5 decks that I placed on tier 3, I would say Regidrago VSTAR is the one that I feel like just needs something, right? Like just a little thing to get it over the edge. I love being able to switch between Gudra's attack and Giratina VSTAR's attack, but it's just not that it's just not that reliable. And the fact that you have to rely on Arceus to power it up is an issue in and of itself, because if you go second and your Arceus goes down, then the game is basically over. And then we have other Arceus decks. Could be Arceus Inteleon, could be Arceus Giratina, could be Arceus Flying Pikachu Giratina, you name it, but they're just not good enough. The damage from Arceus is definitely getting out-crept now. And two-shotting when Kyurem, Mew, Giratina, Regigigas, and Lugia are just one-shotting easily left and back, that power-up through Arceus is not good enough. And then finally we have Zoroark, which does offer the 1KOs and can play Sharon Scare to deal with a single price decks, but it's just generally a worse Lugia. The V-Star, whether it's Zoroark or Lugia, they can 1KO their V-Stars, but Zoroark doesn't have other cool Pokemon such as Radiant Charizard or Amazing Rare Yveltal or Regigigas to help it trade effectively and get favorable trades, 1 price for 2 or 1 price for 3, whereas Lugia can easily do that. So the only reason you would play Zoroark V-Star, which I experienced myself this past weekend, I played Zoroark V-Star because I don't have my Lugias yet at locals, I just get wrecked by Lugia, and all of the bottom decks, they cannot beat Lugia consistently, and Lugia is going to be the most popular deck for sure, guaranteed for the next 3 months. So that's going to be, it would be a questionable deck choice if your goal is to win the whole tournament, right? So let me know your thoughts, let me know what you think, and definitely make sure you tune in to LAIC this weekend. Starting Friday, I will be in the caster desk, bringing you all this analysis and more in the official twitch.tv/Pokemon stream. Thanks so much, and until next time, bye-bye.